Hey guys, today we're going to look at area of composite figures. Area is the amount of space that a 2D shape takes up. A composite figure is just a bunch of different shapes pushed together to make one big picture, and then we're going to find the area of that. Now there are 3 steps to solving for area of composite figures. The first one is we need to identify the shape and the formula that we must use to start solving. Step 2 is to plug in all the numbers to each formula and then solve for each shape. And then step 3, depending on the word problem, we're either going to add or subtract the areas together. So let's look at the first one here on the left side. We're trying to solve for area, and I see 2 shapes here that are pushed together to make our composite figure. So step 1 says to identify the shape and the formula. Well, I see a half circle. And then I also see a triangle. So for a half circle, or for a normal circle, our formula is pi times radius squared. And remember, radius squared just means radius times radius. Now that's for one whole entire circle. But since this is a half circle, cutting something in half means we also have to divide it by 2. And then for the triangle, remember we're going to do base times height and then take that answer and divide it by 2. So now let's plug in the numbers to each formula and then we're going to solve. So pi is just 3.14 times radius. Now we're given this length that goes all the way across the circle. That's called the diameter. Remember that the radius is halfway from the center to the edge. So if 8 is all the way across for the diameter, halfway across would be 4 for the radius, because 8 divided by 2 is 4. So then we're going to plug in our 4 for the radius, 4 squared, which means 4 times 4. Now for the triangle, we need to know the base and the height and then divide it by 2. Well, the base length is this 12, so it's 12 long, times a height of 8, so we are going to use the 8 on this one, because that's how tall the triangle is, and then take that answer and divide it by 2. So now that we know what we're going to do for each one, let's go ahead and solve. So for the half circle, I'm going to go ahead and do the 4 times 4 first, because we can do that in our head. 4 times 4 is just 16. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3.14 times 16. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is 18. Add a 0. 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. Let's go ahead and add these up. 8 plus 4 is 12. 8 plus 2 is 10. And then 3 plus 2 is 5. And I see that there are 2 numbers after the decimal, so we'll count over 2 times. And then we can't forget, we also have to take that answer and divide by 2 because it's a half circle. So let's take 50.24 and divide it by 2. Well, 50 divided by 2 is 25. 25 times 2 is 50. Bring that decimal up, we'll bring the 2 down. 2 goes into 2 one time. Subtract 2 with 0 left over, bring down the 4. 2 goes into 4 twice. So our answer for the half circle is 25.12. Then we have to solve for the triangle. Base times height divided by 2. Well, we've already identified the numbers and plugged it in. 12 times 8 divided by 2. So let's go ahead and solve for the triangle now. So 12 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And now we're going to take that answer and divide it by 2. 2 goes into 9 4 times. We're going to subtract 8 with 1 left over. Bring down the 6. 2 goes into 16 8 times. So our answer for the triangle is 48. Now remember, we're finding the area of the composite figure, which is the whole entire thing. We want to know what the area of the triangle and the half circle is. So we're either going to add or subtract the areas, again, depending on the problem. Well, since we want to know the entire area, we're going to add the 48 with the 25. Now when we add, we probably need to put a decimal and then 2 zeros to help us line up the numbers. So to solve for the area, we're going to take 25.12 and add that with 48. And when we add these together, I'm getting 73.12. Since this is area, it's going to be meters squared. Okay, so again, we figure out which formulas are we using, we plug in the numbers to solve, and then if we're trying to find the area of the whole picture, we add them together. Now, let's look at this next one on the other side. So we're going to do the same process for it. Let's first decide what shapes are we even looking at. Well, I see a larger shape, and that looks like a trapezoid because these two sides here and here are parallel to each other, and these other two sides are not. The inside shape looks to be like a rectangle. So now that we know the two shapes, let's identify the formulas that are going to go with it. So we have a trapezoid, and we have a rectangle. Alright, for the trapezoid, if you can recall from the other day, our formula is 1/2 times the height, and then we add the two bases together. Remember how I said it's a lot like a triangle, base times height divided by 2. This time, all we have to do is add the bases together, multiply it by the height, and then divide by 2. Now for the rectangle, that formula is just base times height. So now that we know the formulas, let's go ahead and plug in the numbers that we know. So the height of the trapezoid is how tall it is. It's the side that connects the two bases together, and that is 22 inches. So we're going to do 22 times the bases added together. So our two bases are the parallel sides, which are 15 and 25. So we will add those two numbers together. And then we also have to divide by 2. So remember, it's much like base times height divided by 2. Now for the rectangle, the base and the height are 7 and 5. So all we're going to do is 7 times 5 on that one. Now that we've plugged in our numbers, we can now solve. 7 times 5 is just 35. And then we need to solve for this trapezoid here. So let's start with inside the parentheses, 15 plus 25. Plus 25 would give us 40. Then we're going to multiply it by the height. 40 times 22. 2 times 4 is 8. Add a 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And then 2 times 4 is 8 again. So that gives us 880. So we've done base times height. And then now all we have to do is take this answer and divide it by 2. 2 goes into 88 44 times, and then just bring that last 0 up. Alright, now the question says, find the area of the shaded region. If you notice, the whole entire trapezoid is not shaded in. The part that's not shaded in is the rectangle. So we're finding the area of the trapezoid, and we have to take out the rectangle. We just want to know the shaded part. Since we're trying to take out this rectangle here, we're going to actually subtract the two areas on this one. So we're going to do 440 minus that 35 rectangle. Alright, so we need to borrow from the 4. That's going to be a 3. 10 minus 5 is 5. 3 minus 3 is 0, and then bring down that 4. So the area of the shaded region would be 405 inches squared. So again, it's the area of the trapezoid, but then we had to take out that rectangle. Okay guys, that's solving for area of composite figures. Composite figures have more than one shape pushed together to make a picture of something. Remember, there's 3 steps. Identify your shape and formula, plug the numbers in and solve for each shape, and then we have to add or subtract the areas together depending on what the word problem is wanting us to do. Thank you guys for watching.